not guilty.
Oh, but we knew that from the beginning.
Is it good to be a man?
It's good to be a man, and it's also good to be Kyle right now.
Is it though?
Freedom! Yeah, we'll see about this. Pastor Toby Chuck Knox, I'm the water boy, and we got Michael Foster in the studio with you guys. I like our new camera setup. I can see which one is on and everything. That's cool. Way to go. Way to go, producer.
I can't see which one's on still.
Welcome to our Sunday special. Good to be on NRB TV, Xfinity, Edify app, and all the podcast channels that we get to drop on.
Our app, the Fight Laugh Feast app.
That is right.
Hey.
And for Christmas, I'm pushing.
Okay.
We are really excited to be offering kind of for Christmas, anyone who signs up to be kind of a silver club member or above, annual silver club member or above, gets access or gets our man box. So it's good to be a man.
Oh.
You get a man box.
Oh.
And
I see what you did there.
Wives, sign your husbands up for club membership for Christmas,
So
and
you get one of these
you get
mugs?
cigars, hats, our Christmas T-shirt. I love this Christmas T-shirt. This is actually our producer's idea a couple years ago to do something like this. And then John MacArthur came up with the whole Fresca idea.
I drink Fresca and punch tyrants. I like the fact that the tyrant is carrying a clipboard.
I know.
So we have Neil to blame for this?
Yeah, we do. Basically.
Neil.
Basically.
Hey.
So sign up, support us. We got tons of plans in 2022.
Neil,
we can't do it without our club members.
You married yet? Oh,
Next year.
okay.
Support us. We got tons of plans in 2022, and our club members, we really can't grow and do it without you. So please sign up and join our club. We want to bless you through it with our Christmas man bucks.
All right. Hey, our brand new sponsor for 2022.
Oh, I'm so happy.
2022 actually started right now.
Yeah, it did.
The
With this sponsorship, it did.
The mission of Armored Republic is to honor Christ by equipping free men with tools of liberty necessary to preserve God-given rights.
Ooh.
In the Armored Republic, there is no king but Christ. We are free craftsmen.
Yeah.
Body armor is a tool of liberty.
All right.
Whoa, we create tools of liberty. Free men must remain ever vigilant against tyranny wherever it appears. God has given us the tools of liberty needed to defend the rights he bestowed on us. Armored Republic is honored to offer you those tools. Bullet points that are important for us to point out.
You're just going to read that. You didn't.
It's a brand new script.
It's okay.
CEO David Reese is pastor at Puritan Reformed Church in Phoenix. He's the CEO of this body armor company.
That's awesome.
You know you want to go to his church. Explicitly Christian company. Yeah, like not even accidental, on purpose. Jesus is king.
Amen.
Pioneered direct-to-consumer body armor sales. All the armor is manufactured in Phoenix, Arizona, in the U.S. of A.
Come on now.
I can't wait to roll. We're going to do a lot more rolling out with them over the next year.
Those are
Excited
bullet
to-
points that you should remember.
Can I add another bullet point on there? After the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing, I'm just saying this might be a good idea.
For real.
I'm just saying it might be good. If you see those tanks come out there, they got 300 people out there, you might want to have your own body armor.
That's
Okay,
true.
but we need to hear from the jury first.
All right, let's do it.
Information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty.
Are those his sisters in the background?
One was mom. I think one might have been sister.
Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury polled? No. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, folks, your job is done, and we started
Breathe.
just about 3 weeks ago. And I told you it could last 2 weeks and 2 days. This is 2 weeks. This is 3 weeks. You were a wonderful jury to work with. You were punctual. You were attentive. And the forgotten six over here who had a very difficult job of keeping from discussing the case during the time that they were sequestered as well.
Wow.
All of you, I couldn't have asked for a better jury to work with.
Oh.
And it has truly been my pleasure. I think, without commenting on your verdict,
That I don't. I was watching that when it happened live, and I remember thinking to myself, like, they saved that boy.
Yeah.
Like, that was,
Right.
He shouldn't have ever been on trial. He should have never
Should have been thrown out of the courtroom.
He should have been thrown out of the courtroom. And do you have his attorney's comments on what this case became about? Because I think he nails exactly.
I've known Tom Binger for a long time. I knew him when he was a civil lawyer. I'm disappointed with some of the things he did, and I've said why.
Such as what?
Putting on the Kandiri brothers when you know they're lying. Changing your prosecution, going with provocation after you say that my client chased him down and shot him in the back. Calling him an active shooter when he's not. Justice is done when the truth is reached, and I don't know that it's set up to do that, but a prosecutor is supposed to seek the truth. It's not about winning, and this case became about winning, and that's probably why it got so personal.
And you know what, though? And I'm glad that, look, not everything that has come out of the social justice movement has been absolutely wrong. They have observed some things that we really need to take into account. One of them is prosecutors. You think about the incentives that prosecutors have. They don't have an incentive for truth, right? They have an incentive to make sure they have convictions. A prosecutor that says, okay, let's say a prosecutor in the city says, you know what, I only have 4 convictions for the year. And they say, well, you're not doing your job, so we can't promote you. Right? But if the prosecutor said, well, no. There weren't, exactly.
Right. Get somebody nailed.
That's what their incentives are.
Right.
Move you up.
And so we help encourage that, because we see a prosecutor with 70 convictions, and we're like, oh, he's doing his job. It's like, no.
Right. Were they just convictions?
Should the trial? And so Rittenhouse, this never should have been brought. And if the prosecutor had any form of justice in his bones, right, he would have never, or truth for that matter, he would have never brought this case.
Right.
And so it became about winning, which is most of the times, that's what it's all about.
Remember that this, pull up the clip, Gabe, with, what this is all about. We're talking, this is the night, right?
This is Kenosha.
This is what happened. This is where.
So before that, Jacob Blake was a young black man who his ex-girlfriend called the cops on him because he wasn't supposed to be there.
Right.
Okay, the cops come because Jacob Blake wasn't supposed to be there.
He pulls a knife out.
Before that, the cops tackled him. He squeezes out of it.
Resists arrest.
And then he goes around to his car. He has a knife in his hand walking around to the car, right? Or was it before he got in the car? Is it around the time he's getting in the car or out of the car? He pulled a knife.
Yes, sir.
And then the cops shot him.
Right.
And that's what and then that was in Kenosha. That happened, Jacob Blake happened in Kenosha. Right. And then here's the night of the protest, what happened that night.
And what you are seeing now, these images come in stark contrast to what we saw over the course of the daytime hours in Kenosha and into the early evening, which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement. It wasn't until night fell that things began to get a little bit more contentious. Things were thrown back and forth.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started, and there's a crowd that.
The road to hell is paved with adverbs. Mostly, generally.
Yeah, but the same news media.
That was in Minnesota. That second part, the first part was Kenosha, the second part Minnesota.
Minnesota, but the same news media that's trying to spin those fiery protests as mostly peaceful, these violent protests, riots, and so on, are the same ones that have been telling the story of the Rittenhouse trial.
That's right.
From jump. Which is why, right away you have this story going that, this white supremacist, he comes across with his gun, he comes across state lines.
Didn't Joe Biden blame this on white supremacy?
I think so.
I think Joe Biden connected
But the narrative, the mainstream narrative was that he came across and was going after, was being antagonistic, and was planning on trying to, shoot black people or something like that. Like that's the basic narrative that we
saw
were
on
fed.
Twitter that this guy was saying employers should give their black employees 2 days off after this. He's found
I'll take it.
Yeah, as he's found not guilty.
Yeah, after he's found not guilty, I was like, he shot a bunch of pasty white folks.
I'll take it. Y'all want to give me a couple days off? Okay. Well, in that case, I guess it don't work for me.
Well, don't forget the tweets that came out after this. So this happened. So Rittenhouse found not guilty Friday morning Pacific time, and the tweets that followed right after the not guilty verdict. You have Gavin Newsom here.
America today. You can break the law, carry around weapons built for military, shoot and kill people, and get away with it. That's the message we've just sent to armed vigilantes across the nation.
As Gavin has security guards walking all around him.
Yeah, right? And then Cori Bush, of course, judge, jury, defendant. It's white supremacy in action. This system isn't built to hold white supremacists accountable. It's why black and brown folks are brutalized and put in cages while white supremacist murderers walk free. I'm hurt. I'm angry. I'm heartbroken. Wow.
Here's my favorite one.
Sean King. Breaking. Kyle Rittenhouse just found not guilty on all charges. Yeah, all of them. Ultimately, gun laws were imagined, written, and are enforced in America to protect white boys and men. Those same laws are primarily used punitively against black people.
What is
America.
What does he mean by gun laws were written and imagined to enforce America to protect white boys and men?
Talcum X doesn't have to make sense when he tweets.
I mean, he's opposed to like what, gun laws?
Yeah.
Right, self-defense.
Is that what he's opposed to, self-defense?
And don't forget the Ahmaud Arbery case. Is going on right now.
That's right.
Which is not getting a whole lot of. This has really been. We were talking about this. I've watched liberal forms of media actually deal with the Ahmaud Arbery situation and case in context with this one, but I haven't seen very conservative or
kind of synthesizing
right wing, kind
paying
of
attention
that.
At all.
And I don't know why, because that is just as important. But the other thing though is that if they're concerned about justice, I would think that they'd be more concerned about that shaman who got 3.5 years.
I know.
He didn't destroy anything.
For walking into the Capitol. Mr. Tumnus. Mr. Tumnus.
It's not his name.
You're talking about Buffalo guy?
Yeah, Buffalo guy.
Not Jump Kick Man.
But think about that, though.
So Mr. Tumnus. Mr. Tumnus repented.
This guy did, too. He actually,
how about that?
In court, he said, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
Okay.
But I don't know if he broke anything. I don't know what the damages were.
Right, but
didn't he grab a podium from Nancy Pelosi or something like that?
Maybe.
But just recognize, like, you have these people burning police stations down.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and the media spin is just insane. Mostly peaceful.
Yeah.
And then you've got some rowdy, tourists.
Sure.
In the Capitol. And yeah, I mean, Buffalo Man shouldn't have been in
He shouldn't have been there.
I mean, they're picking up their plastic bottles and throwing them away. They're cleaning up after them.
I mean, I think
some
some windows got broken. I think some offices were disheveled. Okay, you shouldn't do that. And anybody
you got some rowdy crowd folks for sure.
Be required. But if you can call what's happening in Kenosha mostly peaceful,
right?
Then January 6th was a tea party.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Just saying.
I'm just mad that whatever his guilt was, I'm just mad that we have to sit up here and pay for him to be in jail for 3.5 years.
Mr. Tumnus?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't we make him pick up somewhere around the grounds, or make him paint some walls, for 3 months? But what is it that he did that requires 3.5 years in jail that we feed him for?
Right.
Right, that we take care of, make sure he gets shot. We pay for the water, pay for the clothes.
It is the legal version of slavery that we still have in our country. I mean, the 13th Amendment says that slavery is abolished except for its use in prisons. So we haven't abolished slavery. We're still doing it.
Right.
Knox, is it true that the use of guns and guns laws, is this just to enforce the protection of white people? Speaking of which, how many people in this room have a gun right now?
Probably Knox and Neil. All the minorities.
What?
All the minorities.
That's one of the other things about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial that I was very concerned about. Everybody was wondering, like, why should black people be concerned about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial? Kyle Rittenhouse was a white boy who murdered 3 other white boys who were doing some crazy stuff. So, or 2 other ones and injured 1.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, if you're a black person in America, self-defense, if you believe the narrative that's around here, that every white man out there trying to kill you, especially police officers,
why don't you want to have self-defense?
You want self-defense to be a big check mark on your things that you
especially
want to be able to do as a black man.
Right,
absolutely. You want to be able to defend yourself. So that's extremely important, because that means that you have the right to defend yourself against any sort of deadly harm coming your way.
Right.
And so you can exercise in neutralizing your target.
That's right. At least Maj Touré understands that. Our boy Maj, he tweets, "Welcome home, Kyle Rittenhouse. # Black Guns Matter."
Ooh. And that's the other thing is, people who are on the left who want to tamper or mess with gun laws, Every time we've had a gun law on the books that limits the amount of guns that get out, especially when it started, if there's any place that racism is inherent in America, it would be on gun laws.
It was actually gun laws.
That's where, I mean, if there's ever
the whole permit concept.
1664 was the first gun laws we saw against the Negro.
Oh, in America.
Because they didn't want an uprising, right?
Yeah.
And so
they wanted to make it hard for the black people to get guns.
You track and what does that mean? What is guns? Oh, that's an operation of yourself to protect yourself and operating freedom, right?
Yeah.
So no one can just come and take your stuff without you being able to defend yourself.
Right.
Well, everything that these guys on the left operate in, people who claim to love life also claim to kill all the babies. Right. Also, people who say we should be able to protect and defend ourselves are taking the very right away from black people to be able to do that.
Yeah,
and
they want the same power,
which means they run in line with slave masters.
That's right.
So when you see somebody
exactly
what's his name, King? I can't remember his name.
Sean King.
I'm
Talcum White.
That's what I was thinking of. Whenever
Talcum
X.
These are the guys who are basically loving massa. Because they are following along the lines of saying, "Hey, we want to make sure you're disarmed."
Right. We only want the state to have guns.
How's that worked out for us?
That's what Gavin Newsom wants.
That has not worked out well for black people.
Guns that only he says guns that only military can carry.
Right. Yeah. Michael, is Kyle a hero?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he went up there. He tried to help. There's nothing wrong with having a defense on him, and when you watch the videos, the kid showed amazing restraint under pressure.
Right,
got people kicking him, hitting him, doing all sorts of crazy things. I don't know if I would have been that cool-headed. It's pretty impressive when you think about it. And he did great on the stand, I thought.
Yeah,
he showed. I mean, there was a lot of awesome memes come out of that. Like, what's his name? Benger? I don't know how you say his name.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's America's soy boy. That's for sure. And the sort of ways he would ask questions was amazing. He would say things like, "Well, Kyle, like that guy just had a little handgun, and you had a big gun." You know, like what is?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
Like who thinks this way? And the thing is, what you realize is, like you guys said at the beginning of the show, is that it wasn't about truth; it's lies, and they'll use whatever propaganda, they'll twist anything, whatever, to fit a narrative, to try to manipulate the emotions of the jurors and anyone else that's watching. Really, people that are watching, too, they're playing to them as well to control the media and their reaction afterwards. What they want is in particular black people, they want them to be disarmed so they can stay victims and not take responsibility for themselves, so they can posture themselves as a hero. Yeah. Where the real heroes are the people that take responsibility for themselves and help their neighbors be self-sufficient. And that's what Kyle Rittenhouse, I think, was attempting to do.
So that's why I was wondering when you said hero, and he asked you about hero, I was wondering if that too strong of a term for Kyle.
I don't know. I mean, I think those words a lot of times are traps. I think the kid was trying to help.
Yeah.
And is he Superman? Is he? There's other people. You know, you can think of did things.
I guess what I mean is, so you wrote a book that we're going to talk to you about. Third segment. It's good to be a man, and I guess part of what I'm asking is he a role model? Is he a man? Is he a man that Christian men ought to respect and think highly of, think well of? That's what I mean by hero.
I think well of him. I think well of him because I think one of the main attributes of a man is self-control and taking responsibility for yourself. And at no point did I see him posture himself as a victim. I saw him take responsibility, stand on principles. You know, we can all like nitpick at all this particularities, but if you're like grading on a curve here, looking at the substance of the matter, he's a young man that was trying to help other people, try to protect, provide, preside, right? Have all this leadership. And
would you rather have young men at home on the couch, you know, playing video games, right, in their mom's basement?
Yeah.
Or do you have young men thinking, you know what, they're burning people's property down.
That's right.
The state said they're not going to come. The police are they're not going to stop it.
That's right.
And he apparently heard that there were people that needed medical care. And he also knew that there was this car dealership that he thought, at least, that the owners of had asked people to come protect. Would I rather have that kind of young man in this country? Absolutely. Every day of the week, rather than the weenie on the couch, who, you know, is whatever. I mean, it's
or the other violent men. I mean, this is what we either have. We're having two different types of failed masculinity. We're having that which is discharges their responsibilities weak and sit on the couch and pornography and video games. And then we have those that have no discipline. They're angry, violent mobs. The only thing that can stop ungodly, dangerous people is godly, dangerous people.
That's
and godly, dangerous people have control. That's what makes them especially dangerous, right? They're able to make good decisions.
Right.
And I think he, for his age in particular and the circumstances, showed incredible maturity and responsibility.
I mean, people talk about his age being 17, but you can enlist in the military at 17.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be in Afghanistan. He could be in Iraq.
Yeah. That's right.
In carrying these weapons, and everybody like, oh, that's fine. Why? Because our God is the state.
That's right.
We're a bunch of statists. And so it's fine for him to act that way if you're serving the state. But when he acts like this way, defending his local community, and when he does it acting as a man, just as an individual, as he does it acting like a citizen of a city or of protecting a business, when you start beginning to think about these local governments, suddenly everybody's idolatry is on full display. I think regardless of Kyle's individual faith in Christ or not, he was acting more like a Christian than many Christians in this country today.
Yeah, I saw in the interview or in the trial where the prosecutor tried to say, hey, you played Call of Duty and try to connect it.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I also think like with Kenosha, people's livelihood are being destroyed. Everything's being burned down. And maybe it's from video games and television where you think, oh, that's no big deal. They can just rebuild or whatever.
Sure. The other way
entire
around.
livelihoods are being lost.
Right.
And they're not, these people's lives are changed and they're not going to be the same ever again. Right. And they're not going to be able to rebuild maybe forever and certainly not for years, if not decades.
Yeah.
And so there's a detachment across the whole culture and everyone wants to act like it's just, it's detachment there. It's like, look, this young man's trying to help people that's losing everything. And there was lives through their livelihood being lost.
I think there's another part of this too that I was thinking about. I think Kyle Rittenhouse, the whole situation is kind of giving us a moment to figure out what kind of America we're going to be. Yeah. Are we going to be the kind of America? Because we heard it a lot. There were rapists out there. There were pedophiles out there. There were, come on, they're just burning vandals down the city. There are thugs out there. Yeah. Are we going to be the kind of America that let those people have our streets? To the point that we have to have a 17-year-old young boy come out and play our hero for us? Or are we going to be the kind of people that say, no, not here? You know, are we going to be the kind of man that say, not in our community, not in our neighborhood, that's not going to happen? Because the police, I mean, they just let that happen. Yeah. They just let it. They just sit there and watched. Right. And that's a testimony to the kind of people that we are. Like, I'm calling, what are y'all doing? Yeah. Nothing? Yeah. Are you serious?
Sitting in your car?
That's what you're going to do.
Just going to sit there.
I mean, I think it's a time for us to actually take some moment to reflect and repent that we have to have that kid come out here when we were supposed to have our own Saul. Where's Saul at? He should be fighting for us right now. Right? Like we should be we don't currently have that.
The shepherd boy.
Yeah, that's right. So all right, we're gonna that's right. We
Babylon
have Babylon B. Kyle Mann is coming up to talk about
our boy
new book.
Kyle.
Yeah, so we had that interview earlier this week and we're gonna drop it in now. So we'll be back later, third segment, to talk about
It's Good to Be a Man.
Manhood. Yeah. Michael Foster. It's good to have you in studio, man.
Yeah. Dangerous.
More cross politics coming up next.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
No. Stop.
Okay.
Stop, Gabe, please.
No one knows where that comes from.
Yeah, nobody even knows what that means.
That's because they ain't woke.
Okay.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. We're grateful to have with us Mr. Kyle Mann.
He came back.
Yeah, right. Editor-in-chief of the Babylon Bee. If you don't know what the Babylon Bee is,
what's
they
wrong?
do.
Everybody knows who.
Well, CNN knows. Everybody knows.
I really want to read this. It says a satirical conservative and Christian news site. I mean, that just sort of
Is it
seems
satirical
like
anymore?
it seems kind of I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
more prophetic now.
Yeah.
I think.
Together with Joel Berry, the managing editor, Kyle helps run the world's greatest satire site. Wow.
True.
Wow,
No
that
lie.
is true.
Founded in 2016, it's trusted voice in humor. Trusted voice in humor. For a wide range of modern Christians, man was created in an ore-spawning pit beneath the Tower of Orthanc near the end of the Third Age. Saruman,
Toby doesn't know where to go with this.
many-colored, drew upon all his dark powers to imbue him with the ability to write satire of semi-acceptable quality from time to time, and also pillaged many small villages in Gondor. Man oversees and approves all content posted to the site and writes a good bit of it himself, and is the author of brand new Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness. How to take your wokeness to the next level by canceling friends, breaking windows, and burning it all to the ground. Kyle, thanks for coming back on Cross Politic.
Yeah, you guys sounded surprised when you said that you have a returning guest. So what's your guys' rate of guests who come back?
Very poor. Very poor.
Well, so far there's Kyle Mann and there's Kyle Mann.
Yeah.
And
we got David Bonson.
Yeah, Bonson.
Pastor
Marcus
Wilson,
Pittman's come on.
Doug Wilson.
Yeah,
We
Darren
got Steve
Doan.
Days.
So really not a
Steve
lot.
Days
Out of all the
come
people
on.
interviewed,
They're all friends, actually.
What's different about
Are you our friend?
What's different about you, Kyle, is that you've actually hosted an episode while we were gone.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
For real.
Yeah.
It's so memorable.
So Kyle, since
It was so memorable. Oh, yeah. I hosted a show for Cross Politic, and I forgot about it.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry about that.
No, so now that you wrote a book, obviously you're an expert on wokeness.
True.
And so we thought it would actually be really helpful for you to do kind of an assessment of Cross Politics corporate woke culture. Because as you know, I mean, we have two token white people, and we're trying our best to be woke.
We're kind of DC talkish a little here, two hunks and a Negro.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, with Kaepernick being 1, blackface Virginia governor being 10. I mean, can you just kind of walk through our corporate woke culture and give us your professional assessment?
Yeah, I would need to get a better breakdown of all your guys' intersectional identities.
Oh,
I need to know like orientations. If you guys own any cats. Star Wars fans, did you like The Last Jedi? Like all of those things we need to kind of figure out your intersectional level. Because even though you guys do have a decent race breakdown, it looks like. But you guys also
a decent race breakdown.
You guys,
what makes you say that, Kyle?
You guys, you got a brother there. That's pretty good.
Thank you for noticing me.
Wait.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How do you know how some of us identify?
Yeah.
I would just like to apologize for that outburst on my part.
That microaggression.
You know what? You're trained well. You're trained.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I encroached upon your BIPOC spaces, and I just would like to. I'm going to try to do better going forward.
Do you think you'll just do some more listening from here on out?
I would really like to listen. I think white people should shut up. And that includes me, except what I'm saying right now. But other than that, white people should shut up.
It includes you. Hey, so I'm from Texas. What does that mean to our corporate culture here at Cross Politic?
That is definitely a negative.
Oh.
I mean, you can overcome it if you spend the rest of your life apologizing for it, or you write a book about how you survive, coming from the Bible Belt or the South or whatever.
You know what, Kyle, at this very moment, I think I want to identify as a black male with some Indian in him as well. So with that being the case, I want to know how much money Toby and Gabe owe me.
Oh, yeah, we can calculate that out for sure.
I
mean, the low reparations figures definitely start in the 7 figures. And then it just starts adding on, you got all kinds of processing fees, interest. I don't know how much they microaggress you quite a bit there.
Bro.
It seems like it.
Oh,
it seems like it. How do you know?
Only at the times that I choose to identify as a black male do they microaggress me. So yes, that's
wait. So I need to know, what are signs of kind of microaggression here in our company culture, because we need to work on that here. What are some signs?
I've got one right here actually. Gabe sent this text this morning to us. This quote, it says, "There's a black mouth moving, but a white idea running on the runway of the tongue of a figure who justifies and legitimates the white supremacist practices." That's Michael Eric Dyson, and you sent that to us this morning.
Yeah, that's going on our corporate culture operations manual.
Dude, that's a microaggression.
Yep.
That was beautiful. That almost sounded like a spoken word verse.
So what are some microaggressions we need to, kind of work on this in our company culture here across politics? What are some microaggressions we need to be kind of aware of so we don't do it?
Yeah, well, you're doing it right now. I mean, breathing is an obvious one.
Thank you, Kyle. Been trying to work with them with that. When I see their faces, actually, I just microaggression. Yep.
But I thought we were kind of. I'm like having a black friend. Isn't that like?
See, he just did it.
No, you have reduced him to your black friend.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, man.
Yeah, that's not good, man.
No.
Yeah.
What's some more?
The thing about microaggressions is it's no matter what you do, it's a microaggression, because if you say if you point out, oh, my friend is black, now you've reduced him to his skin color. But if you don't point it out and you just see him as an individual, now you're being colorblind.
So it's a microaggression either way.
A microaggression, yeah.
Boom! I've been trying to tell you. So, Kyle, help. I just want you to know that I really, for the first time in the show, I appreciate you being here. This has been
for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time, because no one has spoken for me like this. Because I don't have lips to speak for myself, and sometimes if I do speak, it's white people who are using me as puppets to speak. So, Kyle,
so let me paraphrase this for you.
You just interrupted a brother from talking,
but I was going to help him better understand what you were just saying.
Like
though.
White people, you need to help me, huh? you need to. Oh, I get it. One thing we know for sure is that everything flows from the church. And so the culture that we have is because of the church. How can the church, be as woke as Jesus was so that we can have a better wokeness in the culture?
Yeah, we know that Jesus was woke. That's kind of obvious. He was a socialist. He fed the 5,000 by raiding a nearby village and taking all their money and redistributing it.
Wait, he did what?
He fed the 5,000.
Yeah, didn't he steal that food from a kid? Like he took them from a little kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What's in your lunch bag, boy? Give me that.
Yeah.
He deboed. Yeah. That's
you're not reading the right translation if you haven't seen that. But, yeah, Jesus was definitely woke on a lot of levels. He entered Jerusalem while driving a Prius.
He was a brown refugee.
Oh, really?
He was he was a refugee. When Lazarus died, Jesus raised him from the dead so he could vote Democrat.
Bars. That's funny.
Well, he didn't even need to raise him from the dead to vote Democrat.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they didn't have Dominion voting machines.
No. Yeah. Back then. Who were some woke characters in the Bible?
Oh yeah, you can pretty much look at anybody in the Bible. I mean, obviously the obvious one is Satan, right at the beginning.
He's woke.
He's woke. We've got Eve. She founded the women's liberation movement.
Dang.
Now Kyle, you said that I think you said that Eglon was woke. Mm-hmm. Or no, Ehud. Because he killed Eglon, the Fat King?
Yeah. Well, he stabbed his sword right into the Fat King, so he killed the patriarchy.
Oh, I see. I was concerned that might be some kind of form of fat shaming.
Oh.
This is true, and I like to applaud you for your ability to see things through the woke lens. Where I'm trying to point out something problematic, and you double down, and then you call me out, and you kind of do like a woke juke on me. That is key to being woke, is always trying to one up everybody else. So thank you for that. Yeah.
But for that, Pastor Toby.
Woke. Am I woke? A little bit.
There you go. You woke, bro.
Do any of my reparations payments? Do I get like a reparation discount now?
No, not until you get your ally card. And once you get your ally card, then you can start.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure out from there. We'll need a new department in the IRS to work that out.
I also noticed that Moses was married to a black woman.
Right, and you notice, Kyle, go ahead. I'll let you take this one first because I got something. But go ahead.
Moses was married to a black woman. But again, I mean, that could also be problematic, right? Because that means it's a token thing.
Oh.
And we are, as woke people, we're back into segregation now.
Oh.
So that's
right.
Yeah.
Right. So like marrying a black woman, adopting black children, this kind of thing is like colonization.
Well, I just want to know what color was the puppet hand that was causing her to talk. Anyway, because that's how we'll know if she was truly black. You know, one of the things in that story too is notice what God cursed the people with who didn't like the color of Moses' wife's skin.
Leprosy.
What color is leprosy?
White.
Mm.
Man.
Yep.
So how come Democrats can never really be racist? You know, it's like, I mean, you can put on a black face as a white man, Democrat, or you can put on a KKK hoodie, or you can kill black babies and abort them as a white doctor, and you just it can't be racist.
Yeah, I'm offended that you called them babies, because really babies are one of the oppressor classes. The clumps of cells that are harmfully colonizing womb spaces. I think so. I think you've really exposed some of your inherent bias and bigotry there.
Yeah, misogyny. You're a misogynist.
So it's like
internalized. Yeah.
I can't even ask my question. That you know what, Democrats can't be racist.
I'm gonna tell you something, Kyle. I just actually that was deep, bro.
Yeah.
That was I'm tracking with you.
Colonizing
the womb
space.
That was deep. That was
right.
So kind of when I was going through this and reading some of the parts of your book, to be very honest with you, I was a little upset. And here's why I was upset. And this is serious, kind of serious.
This is kind of serious.
Because I got afraid that people on the left and the woke culture would grab this book and start saying,
that's a good idea.
Wait a second. We ain't done that one yet. That's some good advice. And I'm like, Kyle, why are you giving them options? You helping them out with this? Because while it's satire, I've seen too much satire on you guys' site turn into reality.
Yeah.
For real.
It's true. I mean, sometimes we think that they go on BabylonB.com every morning and that's where they get their ideas. But and part of the problem too is it takes a while to get a book published. So we wrote this 6 months ago, and now it's all come true. So we already need to issue a second edition. That's a little more absurd, I guess.
Why did you guys choose the title Wokeness to be able to write on that? Out of all the things inside of the left and the kind of the social justice movement, wokeness, why that?
I mean, it definitely seems to be the cultural moment right now, right? And I think wokeness is a fun topic to write about because it doesn't sound as partisan. Like let's write a book, slamming Democrats. It's like, let's hit the woke insanity wherever that happens to touch. And wokeness really does touch all areas of life, which open it up for so many different topics. We got to do stuff on TV shows and the church and race and gender. And wokeness is kind of this fuzzy moving target, right? So it really did open it up the comedy space where we could write about all kinds of different things, punch the other way sometimes as well. But it definitely seems to be the talking point right now is this wokeness, CRT, social justice stuff.
Where is, it's funny when you say that, it's usually I can decide, oh, you're this because you have this ideology. So I know you're left because you're pro-choice, right? But with wokeness, it really does cross conservative, liberal, independent. It is like cancer in the body. It doesn't matter. It's touching everywhere. So where are some of the places that you guys decide to wake up and say, okay, this is going to be our source? Who's giving you guys the endless well of treasures?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right in that like wokeness has been this realignment, it's amazing to me if I look back 5 years ago when the BabylonB was founded and the people who were following us and sharing our stuff and that now like would never be associated with us, and it's this weird, and it's like stuff where, maybe we went a little more political, maybe we went a little more right or something. I don't know. But it does feel more like we've kind of kept doing what we're doing. And this woke realignment is like, we're having people on our podcast that are, liberals that are, and they're the ones that are pushing back against some of them on that side. And then we have, we'll talk to atheists who are pushing up against it. And there's this weird culture war realignment.
Right.
where it's not, the stuff that we were worried about in 2016, white supremacy and Christian nationalism and stuff has just gone by the wayside. That's not the threat to the church, it seems like, anymore. So I don't even know if I answered your question. But
give an example. Yeah. You mentioned, taking wokeness allows you to actually punch the other way, and I assume by that you mean conservatives. What are some places where we're or conservative Christians? Where's wokeness seeping in to where in those circles where we ought to know better?
Yeah, I mean, wokeness in the conservative Christian circles, it is kind of seeping into areas where you see it more like in the mainline evangelical church, and you see people that are kind of in that space where they consider themselves conservatives, maybe theologically conservative, but their churches are going that way. I don't know if it's a grassroots thing or it's a top-down thing coming from seminaries and pastors that are getting churned out like this. So we're definitely seeing. I know there's areas that we buy into. We'll start discussing using their terms and their paradigms, and it is concerning when you see it like that. One thing that comes to mind, we've hit this on the show before, but like, what's the Matt Chandler thing where he was talking about elders
7 and 8,
and if he was rating white elders and black elders, and it was like if I had a white 8 and a
black 7,
I would take the black 7
anytime, every time.
You're like, ouch.
Did you not hear that, Kyle? That happened. That was like 5 years ago.
I hadn't heard that, but that was, me and Adam Ford, who founded the Babylon Bee, we were talking about this 4 or 5 years ago, and we were like, I wonder what the next big war is in Christianity, because we had just kind of come off the whole, like, it feels like we were just fighting about worship songs and organs in the church, and it's like, and that was like tame, and I think, I don't remember if it was me or Adam, but one of us said, it's going to be this critical race theory stuff. That's going to be the next big battle. And you see it like Christian conferences that are holding segregated events, and, that was a few years back, but you're definitely seeing that infect places that you thought were like theologically conservative.
Well, I just for the record, I want everyone to know that Knox is a black 9.
Thank you. Oh, well, cross politic was a fun idea.
Now the woke culture is killing us and taking us down.
I was just thinking, how small do I want my mansion in heaven? Would it be worth it? You know what I'm saying? I lose a few crowns.
All right. Just let it go. Let it go.
One of the things that has been boring for me in all of this conversation with critical race theory, intersectionality, social justice, wokeness, is that everybody is saying all the same stuff, and there isn't anybody who is actually tip of the spear in the fight. You get a little knowledge about it, but it doesn't have any. It's kind of all in the brain. What I love what you guys are doing is you guys are using comedy to show the foolishness of this thing, and that people laugh, and that laughter is so you're doing something in the mind where they're connecting the dots, but it comes out in a tangible reality through the body.
Right.
And so it's not shrill. It's not a shrill response.
So that it creates laughter, and it kind of, to me, I've been really on this kick about Gnosticism, but laughter is the thing that connects the thought and the physical reality, so that the body, so that something happens. And so it's like the most effective way to fight this. And so why is it that, you guys are deciding to use laughter and satire to be able to really engage this?
Yeah, G.K. Chesterton wrote that humor can get in under the door while seriousness is still fumbling at the handle. And I think that really says it all in terms of how comedy can cut through our preconceived ideas. It can cut through worldviews. It can cut across partisan lines. It can cut through the noise of a crazy, passionate political discussion. Because once you're laughing, your guard's down. You're not really necessarily thinking about the worldview of the person who's writing this. You're just thinking, oh, that made me laugh. And then maybe on the back end, you're like, oh, that's actually saying something. This is what the left has been so good at through narrative and comedy and art through the years, is that they've been able to tell a story and communicate a worldview just through a good story, just through a good movie or children's movie or whatever. And we on the right have typically been a lot worse at that. I think that's changing, but I do think that it's something that we've been bad at. If that answers your question at all.
Who would have thought?
That's a great quote.
Who would have thought it would be Dave Chappelle and
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Come on.
And the Babylon Bee.
Whoa, for real. Yeah, here we go. Whoa. I love this. I've been waiting to use this.
Yeah.
All right, the Babylon Bee's Guide to Wokeness. Go and get it right now. How to take your wokeness to the next level by canceling friends, breaking windows, and burning everything to the ground.
Kyle, where do you want to point people to buy the book?
Yeah, it's available everywhere. It's on Amazon, but if you hate Amazon, then do something else. That's fine too. It's any bookstore's cool. So.
Very good.
All right, during the break, Kyle, we're going to talk to you about how to take our wokeness to the next level here at Cross Politic. I'm going to go take a lunch, and you guys can figure out with Kyle how to be more woke. More Cross Politic coming up next.
Welcome back
Yeah.
to Cross Politic. This segment's brought to you by Shannon and his team at Works. They specialize in concealed carry holsters for pistols with lights.
And I'm just saying, Black Friday's coming up.
Yeah?
Hey, he's going to be on the
Christmas
show.
coming up.
Yeah.
Shan's going to be on the show on Wednesday,
Chance
too.
coming up. Yep.
Yeah, his team at Works believe every defensive pistol should have a light and a holster. They currently offer holsters for 1,274 pistol and light combinations. Plus, they can help outfit your pistol with a light. Use their holster finder at works.com. That's works with a Z.com/crosspolitic and be prepared to defend day and night. We talked before on the show about how we really appreciate, I love that point about having a light on your gun.
Yeah.
They have them attached to the pistol. You got yours on?
I do. Yeah.
But
Just don't what to do what the prosecutor does and point it at the jury. Let me show you.
Yeah, men who this back to Michael's point. Men are to be dangerous. Have their dangerousness, their strength under control.
Yeah.
Which means it's not enough just to say I've got a gun, but do you know what you're shooting at? Do you know
Amen.
what, I mean,
and also, I keep saying this, and I think it's so important. We were talking about disarming black people, and that's the whole idea, especially around this time of slavery. The other thing is that the reason why you want to do that is because carrying a gun makes you a certain type of person that thinks a certain type of way about other individuals.
That's right.
And yourself and the environment. It makes you think through situations way before they happen. You saw that with Rittenhouse. Yeah. Rittenhouse had thought through what's being defensive. When do I actually shoot a person? Yeah. When can I actually engage? He had thought through all those things. You could see his process was operating quickly while he had heightened adrenaline running through his body, right?
Yeah.
He had adrenaline running. He was operating well. Yeah. But it's even when you don't have a gun, if you carry one, if you don't have it on you, it still brings something out of you like, okay, I need to engage and you think about the situation.
Makes you a more thoughtful man.
Yes. And because you know what that is that you're carrying and what it's supposed to do, it always makes you think of how to de-escalate a situation.
Absolutely.
Right? You are thinking constantly of being cool, being chill, like, hey, de-escalate as much as possible because that's not where we want to go.
Sure. And men need to think that way in general.
That's right.
I mean, you're always dangerous because God made you a man.
That's right.
Whether you are carrying or not, you're always carrying.
That's right.
In a sense, because God made you a man. Michael Foster's with us. He's a serial entrepreneur, it says.
Really? Hey, how many kids you have?
We've had 8.
8.
Yep.
Oh, he beat you.
Okay.
Baptized. They're all baptized.
Whoa! Amen. Praise the Lord.
He is a bivocational pastor. God has blessed him with a beautiful wife. This says 7 children. You have 8 now?
We did. We lost 1.
Okay.
We have 8 altogether, but we have 7 with us now. 4 boys, 3 girls.
And pastor of East River Church.
You guys are booming too, aren't you?
Am I going to say this right? Batavia? Batavia.
Yeah, Batavia. There you go.
Right.
How close are you to Chappelle?
Chappelle, he's about 90 minutes from us, maybe 2 hours.
So
Ohio?
He and I have a mutual friend.
This is Ohio?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. Just outside of Cincinnati, it says. And he's the author of the brand new book, It's Good to Be a Man. So maybe just start by just talking to us, Michael, about what is a man?
What is a man?
Let's get to the metaphysical structure.
That's an important question now these days.
We live in this world.
Yeah, exactly.
We live in this world. What?
He doesn't have a period, I can tell you that much.
Oh. Whoa. Okay.
Well,
what else?
Well, God made mankind in two varieties, male and female. That's it. And that's part of your identity forever, ontologically, biologically. So you're either male or female. Nothing can change that. Jesus is male forever. So guys like Jerome would talk about how the resurrection is all member and sex. So they're talking about your biological reality. And if it's not real. So if you don't believe that sexuality is an ongoing, enduring part of existence, you end up having a false understanding of who Christ is, a false understanding of Jesus' true humanity, that when he was resurrected as a man, as a male, right? So maleness or femaleness is part of our identity forever. And there's nothing you do that's not affected by your sex because it's part of your nature. And so why men and women share a lot in common, obviously, we are distinct by God's design, and that's good. And that's what we wanted to focus on. A lot of the male sexuality books we see out there is like kind of, they're taking the marching orders from feminism by reacting to it. And we wanted to talk about the goodness. We didn't write a book like women can't do this, or, rather it's good to be a man. Here's why God's design is good. And here's why it's under attack. And it's under attack for bigger reasons than just the last several waves of feminism, but there's actual spiritual attack on men. There always has been, and there always will be. Because there's two patriarchies. There's the patriarchy that flows from God the Father. And that's not a metaphor that we push onto God. God is the Father from which all father gets its name. Right. And there's another father, which is the devil. And he has sons too, and they take on the likeness of their father. So there's such thing as an evil patriarchy that needs to be smashed. But patriarchy is also one way to think about it. It's like gravity. You can't smash gravity. Gravity is part of the cosmos. So patriarchy is part of God's cosmic structure. Yeah. And it's inevitable. So the question isn't whether men will rule. They will. It's which men will rule. Right. Will it be godly men, or will it be like Pharaoh? When Pharaoh ruled and he was scared of people overturning his rule, what did he do? He killed not the firstborn daughters of Israel, but the firstborn sons, because they posed a threat to his tyranny. Tyrants hate strong men. Right. Tyrants want pornography to be legal because it keeps, as Toby's got a real famous talk that gets a lot of play, don't give your strength to women. Yeah. And that doesn't mean don't give your strength to a woman, because in Proverbs 31, there is a woman that you give your strength to, the virtuous, godly woman. And what does she do with your strength? She multiplies it. She grows it, right? Yeah. And through the sex act, we give something to a woman. She gives us a person. Right. We give her flowers, she gives us bread. We provide her resources, and she takes a house and makes it into a home. Yeah. So what we don't want to do is give our strength, our drive to a woman who is merely a consumer or a parasite that drags her whole house down to hell. And that's what Proverbs warns about. So what this book is about is men, here's how to take your God-given desires, whether it's a desire for sex, a desire to build great things and be ambitious. Churches will look down on ambition. And we know ambition can be terrible. We see Cain. God said you're going to walk the whole earth. And what does he do? But build a city and name it after his firstborn son, right? Yeah. Out of pride. Yeah. Or Babel. We're make our name great. Right. And then, but there is a godly ambition, because it's a godly thing to aspire to be an elder in the church. It's a godly thing to aspire to rule in a way that glorifies God. Yeah. And so what do you see in Pentecost but a reversal of the Tower of Babel and magnifying the name of Christ? All these people come together in different languages, not one, magnifying one name. And so men are made to magnify God, so they need to be ambitious. Men also are meant to run in gangs, in packs, in a tribe. And that's why right out the gate in Proverbs chapter 1 is, what does Solomon say? Solomon says, my son, if they say, come on, let's go jump this guy, steal all his stuff, and we'll split it. Don't do it. The reason he starts there, because he knows you're going to be tempted to do it, because we want men to spend that are brothers. We want a fraternity. So all those things are godly, but they can be twisted, and they have been twisted by the fall. But through the gospel, through redemption, through regeneration and the restoration of grace, these things can be changed back to the original design, not obliterated, which is really what evangelicals and egalitarians and even a lot of complementarians act this way, where sex distinctions are removed, and they misinterpret Galatians 3:28 to say that, hey, we're all one in Christ. And we say, yeah, but I still got a penis, right? Yeah, I'm still a man. I still have testosterone.
Yeah.
She still can have babies and I can't. No matter how much facial hair some chick grows, she's still a chick. No, those things are enduring and they're part of God's good design. So that it doesn't obliterate it, but neither does it elevate it like in a Mormon sense.
Right.
Where like our nature's changed into something else.
Right.
We believe that, as Bavinck said, that grace restores nature back to that original design. And that's what our book's about. It's about how the gospel, it's about how the goodness of God's design work together for you to become the man that God made you to be. Not just being a good man, because you can't be a good man that's not good at being a man. Right? So you got a guy like take Trump. He was good at being a man. Ambitious, built things, good with the ladies, good with money, good at leadership and influence. Was he a good man? Well, there's things that God used him for that we're thankful for. Yeah. But also the man's a serial adulterer. He's a very proud man that says he doesn't need redemption. All those things are bad and not true. So is he a good man? Not in the ultimate Christian sense. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, there's certain guys, I think David French doesn't like Donald Trump because Trump's better at being a man. And so, so these guys, but you want to be good in virtue, but also good in what God's made you to be in your design, right?
Yeah. I really like the point you made about the inescapability of patriarchy. There's a good patriarchy and a bad patriarchy, but it's not like you can go to somewhere in this world where there isn't patriarchy at work. The same, George Gilder makes the same point really well in his book Men in Marriage, which I think we've mentioned before on the show. We should have him come on. We've had George on before, but he makes this point really well. And this is like 4 decades ago when he's talking about the fact that even with feminism, they got most of their things that they got legally over the years because a male judge ordered it, or even if it was a female judge, and then they ordered up the cops and the army, the military. Basically, there's the threat of lethal force from what? From men. That's right. Saying you will do this. You will hire this number of women. You will allow the women into the military. These so-called feminist gains. How have they gotten them? Through men. And so through an evil patriarchy.
Exactly. And the evil patriarchy loves to use women against men. Yeah. The devil did it with Eve. The Philistines did it with Delilah. The Pharaoh tried to do it with the midwives, but they were godly and feared the Lord and wouldn't do it, right? Yeah. And so it's constant. You see these men try to use women who can be often more compliant simply because of less of testosterone. They're not as aggressive as we are. Right. So they love to stack the middle of institutions with compliant women. And that's why I always tell women, look, you're going to work for the patriarchy. You're either going to work for your husband and build up your name together in your household, or you're going to build up the emaciated household that is corporate America that has a chairman of the board or a CEO that's a man, almost always. And I'll tell you what, they will fire you and they'll replace you and they'll miss you for a day, maybe. Yeah. But another one's there. If my wife dies, we're crushed forever. She'll never be forgotten and her work will go on forward.
That's right.
And so what do you want? You want a plaque? You want a little plaque that says you did a good job? Or you want children that praise your name in the gates? Right. That's what a woman's going to want, right?
Yeah.
Amen.
For generations.
Let's talk about sex a little bit. You talk about the war on sex in the book. What is that war?
Yeah, so people, when they get into this conversation, so if you take the title of the book, it's good to be a man. So you're saying it's not good to be a woman, right? That's not how people perceive things.
I was hurt.
Yeah.
Why is he right? Why not? Is it good to be a woman?
Why isn't it called it's good to be a black man?
Why not?
Or a short man.
It's all right to be a water boy, right?
Short black man.
Or a gay celibate man.
Toby, too far. It was funny. Me and Knox were kind of funny. You went too far.
Yeah, we'll see how far we can expand this.
We can.
But and you guys are making me lose my train of thought. Well, getting right back to it is that what was your question?
My question was why the war on sex?
Okay, so it's not. It's not men versus women. We were meant to. Doug, I just did Man Rampant with him a little bit ago, and he made a great point that you need to understand men and women like you understand a violin and a bow. They're meant to go together. They're meant to complement each other. Like you can't.
So you're a complementarian?
Well, it depends what you mean by that.
Hold on, I want to get to that. I really want to get to that.
It depends what you mean by that. Yeah. But so the problem is that it's not men versus women. or women versus men. It's not misandry or misogyny, or misandry, excuse me. What the real war is androgyny, I think. The war is androgyny, and Peter Jones, Dr. Peter Jones, has written a fantastic article that is not respected in the way it should be. I think it gets to the core of the issue. As I've reflected on this since I started sociology back in 1999. I was kind of obsessed with androgyny, and I read his paper and I was like, this man gets it. And basically androgyny is the diminishing of sexual distinctions by making them interchangeable or mixing them into like one thing. It's like when you take all the watercolors and they all just turn brown, right? That's the attack. And you see that attack this way. If you think about the creation, it's God to mankind as a unit. Inside that, man to woman, and then mankind over creation. That's the flow of authority. And then what you have is the creation. The devil in the form of creation, the serpent, comes to the woman to the man, and then mankind is a unit to God. It's a flipping of the creation order. The devil hates order. God is a God of order. Devil is an agent of chaos, of a rebellion. So part of God's created order, the rank system, the way he sets things up is sexual. And the devil hates sex. He hates it. He hates it both in its in the created order sense that it brings hierarchy and structure to God's cosmos. He also hates that it magnifies the name of God, because through sex we fill the world with those that bear His image, and by the gospel we fill the world with those that praise the name of God. So the Great Commission is just the creation mandate restated for people that need to know Jesus. Right? But they're both the same thing. Fill this planet. Every nation, every last nation is going to be taught to praise Jesus as King. And that starts with one man. As the man goes, so goes the household. As the household goes, so goes society, right? And that's, if the men don't fear God, it's going to bleed into everything. And that's why, if we want to have a culture war, a good place to establish a beachhead is our men.
Wow.
Just kind of wind them up.
Boom.
So, no, I know he can.
Boom.
So as you're taking,
I feel like I want a shotgun.
Okay, well, I'll give you some of these. That's praise God. You know what to do with those, right? So as you look at the field right now of men, if you could put your finger on one thing to get them to engage, to equip them, what would that be?
To equip them. Well, the biggest problem with men right now is that two things. So victimhood and passivity, and they're deeply related. So they think, you see this even guys that understand feminism and the destruction it's brought in our society, that they'll blame feminism for their failure to launch, for their failure to take responsibility for themselves. And that's why I like books like Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, I think has really captured the imagination of so many young men, or Jordan Peterson, when he talks about clean your room, right? And so in a nutshell, it's about taking responsibility for yourself and taking dominion first over yourself, and then whatever's nearest to you. So that's step one, is take you might not be to blame for all the bad things in your life, but you are absolutely responsible for all of them, right? And if you don't take responsibility for yourself, there will be no change, okay? And then out of that, action has to flow. You have to take basic action. Read your Bible, go to church, get a job, right? You know, if you're struggling with pornography and masturbation, how about you take a cold shower in the morning? Because if you can masturbate in a cold shower, like you got deeper problems, right? But hop in that cold shower and get out the door and work a second job if you have to, right? Get tired building things you care about. Don't be exhausted just to be exhausted, but take that energy that God's given you and turn it into an engine of productivity. I think once you start getting that win, men are like, it's like when the bike chain falls off the bike, you put the chain on the big gear, and then you put it on the other gear and you turn the pedals and it pops on. And so what guys got to realize, look, just pop it on. You don't need to know all the steps, man. You don't need GPS turn by turn. You just need a compass and a direction and get out there.
I think our education, though, has kind of brought us like, okay, I can do it if you can just walk me through the bullet points. Like if I get the steps, then I'll be able to do it. But the more and more that I'm living it and working through this, it's like, no, you need to engage, because there isn't like an exact roadmap for this. It's get inside of this, inside of your little sphere, get your hands in the dirt and start planting some stuff.
I think Pastor Doug likes to say sometimes that obedience is the great opener of eyes, and maybe he's quoting someone else, but obedience is the great opener of eyes. Like, put your foot in front of your other foot. Like, do the thing you're supposed to do today.
That's right.
And then God will open your eyes. You'll see the next thing you're supposed to do. You take the next step. You don't have to see the whole picture. I really like what you're saying. We had David Bonson on actually earlier this week and talked to him.
His book kind of looks like our book. You guys notice that his book design is really similar.
I see what you did there. But he's got another book called Crisis of Responsibility.
Yeah.
Where I brought this up with him because he's got this new book, 200 what is it?
50 economic truths.
There's no free lunch.
There's no free lunch.
And 250 truths about economics or whatever. And you read it, and part of my response and like my flesh was sort of like, man, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Like this, like we don't have a free market, and I love how he just came. He just came at me.
He
really.
did.
He was just like, "Well, suck it up, Toby.
Take responsibility.
Take responsibility." And it's exactly what we need to hear. But the central thing too to remember is, this is the gospel.
Amen.
At work. Like this, it doesn't get more practical than this.
That's right.
Jesus didn't make this mess. We did.
Yeah.
And he came into this world to take responsibility for it, for us, stood in our place, took the judgment we deserve,
That's right.
rose from the dead, having crushed the head of the serpent, and says, all right, now you get to work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
It's hard.
He did the hard work. He already did the heavy lifting. And then now he gives us his spirit so you can put one foot in front of the other. And is it hard? Yeah, but you were made for this.
Yeah.
God invented men for this.
That's right.
And
that's the balance too. You got to strike with this issue, because I do think the whole man up kind of like boomer man up types barking at these guys.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to man up when you don't know how to be a man. Okay.
Yeah. And when you don't know Jesus.
Yeah. You don't know Jesus. Yeah. It's impossible.
Right.
Right. To be a man as you ought to be. So I do think we got to tell man, hey, you need to be what God made you. That's essentially man up, but you have to show them. So there's a balance of some instruction. Like guys don't know how to hold eye contact. They don't know how to shake hands. They certainly don't know how to talk to women. Like I have guys that go on dates and they're like, it didn't go well. And I'm like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, I brought this list of questions to ask her about, I was like, what do you mean a list of questions?
Do you like cats?
Yeah, well, probably. Well, there's one guy, I can't say all the things. It's too many private things. I just tell you that guys bring up things on first dates that Emily and I haven't even resolved yet. Well, I wanted to know if what her views were paying for the college education of our kids, our potential kids. I'm like, what are you talking about? On a first date, have fun.
Superlapsarian or infralapsarian?
Yeah. That's a serious question. Don't do that.
But they're really
that's fighting words.
So what I think these guys need encouragement. Like you said, you are a man. God's made you to do this. You can do it. Okay.
Yeah.
You can do it, man. Go get it. Right. What if I fail? So what? Welcome to manhood. Right. Manhood is a series of failures that you'll learn from.
Right.
And they're so scared of failing because they think it's a performance mindset. That's why the gospel frees you. Because I'm not trying to be the perfect man, right? There's only one of those.
I think there's there's a breakdown of fatherhood as well. And it's probably generational in this. Yeah. You don't understand that until you see it. When you see a man, you're like, whoa, what's that? And then you start saying, well, why does he act like that? I think that's part of the reason why somewhat Doug is interesting, is there's this masculinity that just kind of radiates from him, and people are afraid of it because they have never seen it before, right? And so,
and he doesn't seem to be ashamed at all.
And he's not ashamed. Oh no, he loves it. And other people are attracted to it because they've never seen it before. And what is this? And a lot of that is that I think men haven't seen it. And so part of what I think we're missing is seeing other men act like men, the model of that. And because some of this is supposed to be learned through relationship, it's not just all knowledge thing. It's actually through, that's how you do that.
But that's part of the way God made us.
That's right.
I think that one of the things about being a man is recognizing, we read books and we learn stuff, but God made us with we learn with our hands.
That's right.
We're doers. And we're made to fall down and get back up again. We're made to mess up, try again. That's just so much of what it means to be made a man.
Well, still, even before that, like the church doesn't teach on what it means to be a man very well. And so if you don't even have like the anchored truth in your system, I like Doug's definition of being a man is the glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility.
Yeah.
And so if you don't even have that anchored in your mind, then even kind of watching the cultural manifestations of that, of what it might look like in a community, you're still not anchored very well. I remember when I first came to our church in our community, and one of the silliest things, I'm this 22-year-old kid, this is 2022, And I remember
2022.
Wow. 2002.
Okay.
1980s, man. 1980s your birthday?
I'm a 79, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a 70s boy. I'm a 70s boy.
80s.
79. And one of the first things that like struck me was watching men get out of their seat at church and walk with the crying baby in back while mom and the kids sat in the rows.
Yeah.
And I was like, dads are doing that?
Yeah.
And what was crazy was Doug wasn't even giving that as an example.
Right.
Doug was just preaching from the pulpit what it meant to be a man from the pulpit.
Yeah.
And then, because Doug can't get up in the middle of church, take his kid in the back because he's preaching.
Yeah.
And all these guys were doing that and taking responsibility for their family and what that meant for them in that moment at church, at worship, was to make sure their family could worship and take care of the child that needed to be taken care of in that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
And go in and stand in the back. It's very simple,
Right.
but that's because the anchor truth of glad assumption of sacrificial responsibility was there in that system.
Right. How can I make this moment better?
Yeah.
How can I make this moment right here better? Blessings for my wife, for my other kids, for the people around me. I know I can take the crying baby.
That's
in the
my
back.
job.
Yeah. I can hold the baby.
I want my wife to be fed the word of God. She needs to be fed. I need her strong.
Right.
So, man, things are crazy right now. I don't know if you know. Things are kind of nuts.
I've noticed some stuff.
Yeah, things are 2020 has been weird,
Do you think the election was fraud? No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, segue was horrible. Where this next year coming up right now, there's all kinds of amazing opportunities. Yes. Oh boy, we just got canceled. By the way, I think we're back on YouTube.
Ivermectin.
Where are you taking?
Buy it for your horses.
Where are you putting your focus as a man in this next year, knowing that things might actually get a little crazier?
Well, I always start with the closest areas. I mean, it depends where you're at. I mean, honestly, the biggest issue is for me. All right, so I'm 41. I've got 7 kids, a wife. I've bought a house, so I actually have assets. I've got a number of freezers full of wonderful meat. So we've been stocking things up. I think there's different places, but what I tell probably the most important thing is for men to find a community of God-fearing men to be with right now. So if you're familiar, take the survivalist stuff that's kind of come out now, like the supply chain's gonna crash. It's crazy.
Going
to. We don't. It's bad. We don't know how bad it's gonna be. It's hard to tell really right now, but it's really bad. It's gonna be bad for a while. But if you're familiar with survivalist literature and Tiakawaki and all these concepts, you realize that the good ones know that you only can get through this with a community of people.
That's right.
There's not enough bullets or whatever. And so what men need is fathers and brothers, and they need compatriots, people that are working along. So I think if I was going to boil it down to one thing, it's not easy. That's what I would say is find a community with the church at the center of it, that fears God and men that fears God, and that's embodied throughout the entirety of life. That's what the focus. Do what it takes. If you got to move, you got to move. If you can make it work where you're at, make it work, right? But if you can't reform your churches, you only have 2 options: move or start a new one. Right.
That's right.
Do you think that with the way things are right now that you have time to reform your churches?
That's in the Lord's hands.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it. Today's worries are sufficient for today.
Yeah.
And I think part of our problem with our news obsessed culture is a little tricky on this show.
Wait, is he talking about us?
Just the culture. There's
right. It's all right. We're men. We can take it.
We do have a tendency to worry about things that aren't ours to worry about and get caught up with things. And I think reading guys like Postman can be a helpful check, like amusing herself to death.
I think he got it wrong.
You're absolutely wrong.
he got it wrong.
Do tell.
So Neil Postman got it wrong because he thought that ultimately the amusement was going to be the thing that put chains on us, right? And so he thought that the way that we got the content, what does he call it? The
medium is the metaphor.
Yeah, the medium is the metaphor.
Yep.
I think he misunderstood, or he didn't make room for truth. What does it say in Jurassic Park? Life always finds a way.
Sure.
I think truth is the same way. And so where I think he missed it at was that he assumed that we would have all this amusement that came in, and that would be the thing that put chains on us. But he did not make room for the fact that truth ran through those same streams, and it had to be censored Orwellianly. Right, and so he missed the fact that Orwellian still had to have a way in, which is what we're sensing right now with YouTube, right? So
that doesn't mean he's wrong.
No,
it's a mixture because you're talking about the intro of the book where he compares Huxley to Orwell, and he says basically
not just that. It's the beginning. He actually does a chiasm with it, so he opens it up with it, and then he closes with it, and he thinks amusement is going to be the thing that kills us.
You're right. He does think that Huxley's going to be more of the problem.
He took for granted that truth has the ability to actually transform people. That's where Postman missed it at. Truth actually has the ability to use it. Look, the Roman roads were built for pagans. The gospel went through them and changed the world.
That's right.
And so he misunderstood that whatever that vein was taking it. No, it's not it. It's what's going to flow in that vein. And when truth gets in those veins, like Rush Limbaugh did, it messed up the system.
Sure. Well,
okay?
The main issue.
And podcasting messed up the system.
True.
Cross-politic messing up the system, right? This is why we're kicked off of YouTube and other people are kicked off of Twitter. They have to bring in an Orwellian imposement in order to be able to try and shut it down. And so it's not just amusement that was going to take us. Right. It wasn't that. He misunderstood.
It's right hand, left hand.
And actually, that's because patriarchy is inescapable.
Right, exactly.
Actually,
Toby being nice, bringing this all back.
Go ahead,
back to here's my actual point from Postman.
Yeah.
And I have a counter argument, but we don't have time.
Yes, we do. I love arguments.
This third segment.
But the other part is actually where he's talking about the Telegraph, and I think whoever wrote Thoreau, he quotes him about the Telegraph. What does this area have to do with New York, right?
Yeah.
And I always ask people, like, how much of the news changes your personal day to day, okay?
Right.
And, stocks, I mean, if you're day trading, that's probably not wise stock investment unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah. Weather, but I can kind of look outside the window. Most of it doesn't. Most of it's tidbits to entertain. It can instruct to some level, but my issue is that it's the same issue I have with straight preachers. Is that they'll drive all the way down to a stadium to go preach the gospel, and they don't know their neighbors, man.
I know.
I mean, give me a break, dude.
My missions is the same thing with that. I have the same problem with missions.
It's the same thing. Right. I did a whole conference on this, and so what I tell men is like, what the main thing I'm concerned about is people having disembodied existence detached from their local community.
Yeah,
and so I think we're in a growth phase. Where when you first, there's the Frankenstein principle, and Postman talks about that as well.
Yep.
And there's a time where you have to kind of learn how to deal with new technology. Technology is a blessing. I'm happy for the internet. Yeah. It's made all this happen right now.
Yeah,
that's right.
The Industrial Revolution has caused difficulties, without a doubt, that we're still struggling with. But it's also intense blessings as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But the real danger we have right now is people that think you can have masculinity via proxy. Oh, Doug Wilson's manly, therefore I'm manly. Right. The Bengals won today, therefore I won. Right? So it's a twisted of covenantal thinking where you have someone that represents you, but you yourself have to do something. Right. And that's why we have to get guys in churches with men that are saying, like, all that stuff happened.
Well, that's
Gnosticism.
Good,
and you want to, exactly. And then we have a neo-Gnostic. Even we don't care about place. Scripture cares about place, right? You should love Moscow. I love Ohio. I love corn. I love the sound of the wind through it. I like I like my 4 seasons. I don't care that it gets a little dark and dreary during February. I'm going to write a poem about it. Be some Edgar Allan Poe or something.
So would you say part of it?
I just disagreed with one thing that he said there that the Bengals won. That's it. That's it.
I became a consistent Sabbatarian, so I don't even know. I have no clue what happens.
So would you say that the part of it is that if I'm hearing you correctly, part of what you're seeing from Postman that's correct is that it is displacing us from our actual local environment and making us care far more on a national, federal level.
Distracted by things that don't actually matter.
In a local level.
I think that's one of his subpoints that I think has shown to be true. And even the thing that's sad about Postman is he died like 94, 95.
Yeah.
And it would have been wonderful to see him because he's a brilliant mind, because he was able to take like Jock Ellul, Marshall McLuhan, some of these like high level thinkers and make it more at a popular level. Had he seen what the internet did, it would have been fascinating to hear his thoughts on it. We have some guys writing on it, but not enough. That's an area where we need more Christians to get into, is the interface of technology and
Gilder's kind of the only person I know that is really on that level.
But even he's he's reaching his pinnacle. Yeah.
We haven't been taught to think about our thinking and thinking about what's influencing our thinking very well at all.
But what I hear you saying, though, is maybe the warning to men, though, is don't allow your consumption of news and media to be a distraction from obedience.
That's right.
From growing into a real man.
That's right.
And you can't do it by proxy, by thinking, I went, watched a football game, I played, whatever, a first person shooter game, or I watched a Doug Wilson YouTube video. No, that's not, like, you can learn from that. You can be encouraged by that.
Stirred up,
but
right?
go do it. Go be a man. But also don't let it be the kind of thing where it's like, it can be sort of a panic porn.
That's right.
You've got one kind of porn over here that's a kind of distraction, but you can have a kind of panic porn where, like, oh no, and then they did this, and then they did. I mean, that's what the media is trying to do. Yeah. Like, they want you to be terrified of what's going on, and then girls do it in one way, with who's dating who, and the Kardashians or whatever, and guys can do the same thing with who's been shooting who and what are the politicians saying and so on. Okay, know what's going on. Watch a news show every once in a while, like Cross Politics, and then get busy with your life.
Working.
Actually, to that point too, something we focused on in our book, and I've been thinking about this a lot. I know, I think Edwin Friedman is pretty popular around here, and his book Failure Nerve is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Again, I wish he had a edit on it. It's pretty rough prose in parts because it was a manuscript. Yep. But we talk about gravitas in our book, and that's something men need to get, which is this. It's an old Roman virtue, but it's like the idea of weight. God has weight, right? His glory. And a man is to have weight, a seriousness to him. He's to be a grave man, not self-serious in that he can't laugh at himself, but he has all that virtue. Well, that when you have weight, you don't just float off and things come in the orbit around you because you have mass. Now, what Friedman is getting on is that folks that aren't well differentiated leaders, they know themselves, they know where they began and end, what their responsibilities are. When they're not like that, they're pulled into other people's emotional states real easy. And what the media does is alert. There's been, when I was a kid, the first alert that I recall was O.J. Simpson is driving really slow with his bud down a highway.
Breaking news.
And I remember watching it. I was like, this is exciting and boring at the same time somehow.
What's going on? Why am I watching this? I need to watch it.
Now I haven't had TV, I don't know, like 15 years, right? Maybe longer. And so only when I go out of town and there's a TV in my hotel, I turn something on. And it's like there's an alert constantly. And that's what they want. They want you like
breaking
in
news
the state
constantly.
of stimulation.
Yeah, that's right.
So Rich Lusk, again, he's a CRC pastor. And I thought Rich's comment on Friedman was really good. That ties into everything here, is that often the calmest man in the room is the man in control, is the leader, right? And as men, we are to be this stable force. This is like godly stoicism, right? Where we know how to control and aim our emotions for good. And when people are around us, we create safe spaces. We pull them into our emotional state, right? That's what a father does in his home. That's what a pastor does in his church. And that is what a good community leader does. He doesn't he usually de-escalates the things that need to be de-escalated. And we're talking about with guns. A man that has power. He has power and understands what the power can do is a man that has restraint, right? And that's what we need is men with gravitas, men with frame, well-differentiated men that aren't controlled by the media. Men like that can come in and hear something and they can stew on it, but it won't rule them. And we need men that rule themselves so they can't be ruled by these manipulators.
One of the things I've picked up on just watching guys who have gravitas, I don't find many of those kind of guys who have gravitas who aren't praying men. Like when you find and you can feel it when you walk in the room. It's just thick. It's like, okay, somebody been with Jesus for 24/7.
You know you're feeling there, right? When people that are emotionally unstable and freaking out, they have not been talking to God about it.
That's right.
Because because you see David. David was like, "Where are you at, God?" At the beginning of the psalm, and at the end, he's like, "Oh, there you are."
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
I take it all back. And he works through it, and we're not working through it, and so that's prayer does make you manly if you understand what it does to your constitution.
Manning up doesn't mean that you bear all the burdens yourself.
That's right.
It means you know the one that you can cast your burdens on, and so as fast as everyone around you is casting their burdens on you, because you're the man of the house. You're the man that they're looking to. Just as fast as they can carry to you, you're carrying it to the Lord. And that's what allows you to be a man.
Amen.
I was reading Up from Liberalism, actually, William F. Buckley.
I bought that book.
1959. Speaking of the same point you're talking about. And he's talking about how the media in the 1950s, the liberal media and the left is already smearing conservatives over the McCarthy hearings and over the Brown versus Board of Education and all the stuff that's going on there. And I was telling the guys earlier this week, it's like, you know what? You read it and you're like, it's the same song, 150th verse.
Yeah, that's right.
70 years ago.
Yep.
And, it kind of like gets like, just relax. Like, I don't even know, like, other than McCarthy, I don't know any of the other names.
Yeah, they come and go. It's like someone asked me, do you know about this guy? I was like, I have no clue who he is, but he might as well be Brian McLaren to me. And they said, who's that? And I said, right. Right.
Exactly.
Who is that? No one cares.
I get my point.
Right. But that's the thing again, is like, what, like, to be a man of gravitas, a man who you need to care about the truth, which means, there's all kinds of stuff that's just fleeting.
Yeah,
it's vaporous.
Yeah,
it's like a cloud and it's gone. And yeah, I mean, you need to be faithful in front of you. And sometimes things that are on the news, you may need to deal with. That may be important. But most of this stuff really is fleeting. Most of this stuff is going to be gone. But your wife and your kids are not going to be gone.
No,
the people in your congregation are not going to be gone. Your neighbors down your street. They need you.
To circle back around and make my my apology for cross politics. My defense.
Here we go.
To make my defense, we also need to know how to think about things, and we're under incredible propaganda right now. Right, it's intense. Yeah. And I got on the social media, even though social media is dirty. Right, it's just dirty. Yeah. It's like hard to, you feel like you never know, like, did I go too far? Did I make this too personal? You just never know, right?
Especially you. I've seen your tweets.
Yeah.
I never know about Michael Foster's tweets.
350 shares and 350 retweets.
But what I would say is that we had pastors that I think were good men that wouldn't get on there because they were busy about other things, and I respect that. But their people were being brainwashed by liars on Instagram and blogs and all that. If we cannot give that up to the enemy, if we do, we'll lose our churches, and that's what happened.
You got to be where your people are at.
Yeah, this past year, we found out a couple things. We found out that no matter how cynical you were, things were actually worse than we thought.
That's right.
So we found
That's right.
I think we all were shocked, like, that guy, are you kidding me?
Yep.
But on the flip side, some godly pastors found out that their people were far gone too, and they were willing to turn them over to the wolves. You don't hear that story, but if you're in the ministry, you do. And like, I don't know what to do. They're like, and it's because they allowed these people to be brainwashed by the gospel coalitions of the world, right?
I was just about to say that part of the problem has been so pastors aren't getting on there. So then these parachurch ministries come in, and then they take over and they start discipling almost just as bad as, some of the other stuff, the other side of social media.
And then we need a voice there. We need a voice to teach people how to think about these things, how to see the truth, how to interact. When it's time, you do need to be able to sound an alarm when things happen.
Right.
Look, you need to get into a local community now. Put down roots now, right? This is not a normal time. You always wonder, like, am I being a narcissist and just acting like my generation's different and every generation thought that, right?
Yeah.
But then you look at this historically, you're like, this is very significant what's happening. Basically, feminism and globalism and statism has all intersected at one point, and now there's a reckoning, right? And at this reckoning, the only way to get through storms like this is with other people. And I think helping people see through this stuff calmly and navigate to somewhere safe is a ministry that we need to have.
So you think
keep listening to Cross Politic. It's on a bunch of times every week.
And so with that, it's good to be a man with Michael Foster, The Handbook for Godly Masculinity. Brother, this is a good book. Thank you. And I appreciate you, man. Again, on Twitter and Facebook, when I see your posts, I'm like, okay, it's going to be fun. The comment section is what I love so much, too.
Man, they're
Cannon Press,
Amazon.
If you're near Batavia, Ohio, check out East River Church.
Right.
It's a CREC church.
That's right.
So if you're single, getting married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
Welcome to No Quarter November. My name is Douglas Wilson. I'm glad you decided to join us. Now, some people want to know, what is it about November that makes us want to burn things? What's with that? There's a little libation for those evangelicals who think I ought not to be drinking stuff like that. The reason we're doing this is not that we think that there's a moral obligation that we have to be incendiary, because we don't have a moral obligation to be incendiary. What we're saying is that the world has mysteriously, for some bizarre reason, become flammable. So, the world is flammable. Everything catches fire these days. All you have to do is say something like white babies or something like men shouldn't have sex with unstable women. Things that would have gone past without comment in a saner time. But we don't live in a sane time. We're not incendiary people here at Cannon Press. We are ordinary people, normal people, in a flammable time. And that explains why things burn in November. The basic point of No Quarter November on my blog is that normally, 11 months out of the year, when I say outrageous things or things that I know that people will take as outrageous, I make a point of qualifying it. I call it, it's not always in the second paragraph, but I call it the second paragraph rule, where I say, now, when I say this, I'm not saying this and that and the other thing. I qualify, and I qualify, and I qualify. And nobody pays the slightest bit of attention to my qualifications. And so I decided a few years ago that let's see what happens when I don't qualify anything. If I just speak the truth, what happens then? Well, check in No Quarter November and you'll see what happens then. My exhortation to all of you is that if it seems like everything's gone nuts, if it seems like the world's on fire, just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. Just stay with whatever your plans were. Keep doing what you ought to be doing. Stay at your post. Ignore the world. See? Well, I gotta get home for dinner.
Kiss the sun, sing the song if you be his prophet. Black Swan with the boy sling.